Now to the arrest in that deadly subway push in Queens. A 31-year-old woman is being charged with murder in the case. And even more shocking, according to the Queens district attorney, she told police, quote, "I pushed a Muslim off the train tracks because I hate Hindus and Muslims ever since 2001.
Assalamu alaikum. Peace and greetings to all of you. I'm delighted and absolutely thrilled to welcome you all to Safety and Security event hosted by the Delaware Council for Muslim and Global Affairs. I want to congratulate the Council for hosting such an important event, and I am also very grateful for Governor Jack Markell, who has given great gravitas to this event. This issue of safety of minorities in the United States, and especially Muslim minorities, is of great concern to all of us, and especially to Muslims in Delaware. We should have been talking about this issue long ago. It is unfortunate that a tragic event in North Carolina, the sad murder of Dia, Yusr, and Razan, has prompted us to take serious measures.
A Facebook profile bearing Craig Hicks' name and photo paints a portrait of a vehement atheist who shared anti-Muslim and anti-Christian posts and links. Also, the fact that all three victims were shot in the head execution style is leading many to believe that this was, in fact, a hate crime.
Years old, was known for his many acts of kindness. His sister, Suzanne, who's a local physician, joins us tonight.
My brother, Dia, was a 6'3" young man who had the kindest heart, who loved everyone he met, greeted strangers with hugs, and dedicated his life to service. He loved his family. He loved his wife, Yusr. He loved his in-laws. And it's a very sad day for both of our families.
My name is Dia Barakat. I'm a dental student at UNC, and I need your help. We need your help to raise funds for these supplies and equipment.
If the perpetrator was Muslim, we would be having non-stop coverage of his religion, who he's affiliated with, where did he work, who did he speak to, and there really hasn't been that much focus. I'm happy that the focus now has been on these three lives, on their beautiful lives, full lives that they've lived, on their families, and that's the story you want to tell, because these were Americans, but not only were they Americans, they were extraordinary Americans who gave back to their community, were successful students, and that's how their families want them to be remembered.
If the situation were reversed, would this be called an act of terrorism? Do you believe that in this case it should be called an act of terrorism?
It's absolutely an act of terrorism. Terrorism is a crime that has political or religious motivations behind it. This guy was an anti-theist. If you look at some of his social media posts, he was anti-religion, anti-religious people. These young women were wearing headscarves. They were identifiably Muslim, and we should be calling domestic terrorism regardless of who the perpetrator is or who the victims are. And in this case, this absolutely, to me, is a domestic terrorism case.
This week alone, there has been a spike in anti-Muslim hate crimes. A mosque was burnt in Houston, the Huba Institute. A mosque was vandalized in Providence. A young Muslim boy stepping out of a mosque in Kansas was killed by a drive-by driver. There have been violence in Canada against Muslims. So the hate crimes against Muslims are escalating. The FBI alone lists more than 150 hate crimes per Muslim, and the escalation since 2005 has remained. So as the plateau of hate crimes against Muslims has increased, it has not decreased in the last 10 years.
And friends of Hussein still struggling with yesterday's attack. Today, 200 people from his community gathered. Team coverage continues now with Sayed Shabir, who today spoke to friends of Hussein. Sayed?
Now we are working new developments in a disturbing story we first brought you this weekend. The Islamic School of Rhode Island in West Warwick defaced by a vandal.
The suspect spray-painted racial slurs all over the entrance, and now the FBI is trying to track that vandal down. Eyewitness News reporter Steve Nielsen joins us now with more.
Investigators led Daryl Ferguson to a waiting police car tonight after arresting him this afternoon. Fire officials have charged him with arson and believe he set fire to this building Friday morning at the Quba Islamic Institute in Southeast Houston. Tonight, folks at this center tell us they go back to their faith to get them through this.
We are here as a center. I mean, our doors are always open.
The mosque leaders tell us tonight that this building was supposed to be their rec center, that it was completely framed and ready to go, but now it is destroyed. Leaders here at the mosque also tell us that class for students was canceled today and tomorrow just as a precaution.
Yes, we understand that there is a backlash, there is anger in the wider American community to events happening in the Middle East, but we have to recognize that nearly all Muslims in America have nothing to do with events either in Europe or Paris or Iraq or Somalia. Muslims in America are mainstream. Muslims in America are like any other American. They have the same dreams. They are pursuing the same American dream as anybody else. And as citizens, they give the same things that other citizens do, and they have complete right to get the same protections that other citizens do.
The face of Muslims in the minds of Americans and the face of Muslims in the mind of the world should not be Abu Bakr Baghdadi. It should not be Osama bin Laden. It should not be the faceless murderers of the journalists of Charlie Hebdo in Paris. It should be Yusra Abu Saleh, Razan Abu Saleh, Dia Barakat, the Steph Curry-loving dental student and volunteer for Syrian refugees who was murdered in North Carolina this week.
There is a deep-seated prejudice against Muslims stemming from the 9/11 attacks and subsequently events in the Middle East. The anti-Muslim rhetoric coming from neoconservative commentators in the media, coming from certain preachers in churches, and now coming from this new trend, this new atheists who are anti-religion, has ratcheted up, you could say, hate speech against Muslims. And as a result of this, there is an environment of intolerance towards Islam and Muslims in the West in general and in the United States in particular. What this environment does, it encourages people to take matters into their hands. Unfortunately, when there is a lot of talk, deeds follow eventually. When Yigal Amir assassinated Rabin, at that time we had talked in this country about how hate speech can quickly lead to hateful actions. At that time, America had learned the lesson of talking about hate can lead to hateful actions. Do we need to rethink of that lesson? Do we need to go back and relearn the lesson? The 3 kids who died in North Carolina, they should not have died if we had learned the lesson then. So it's very important for us now to recognize 2 things. That one, it is in the interest of everybody, not just Muslims, to protect the rights, the civil rights, the freedoms, the religious freedoms of Muslims in America. If Muslims or any other minority do not enjoy the full protection of the American Constitution, then America is a lesser democracy. When Muslims struggle for their rights in this country, they are also struggling for American democracy. When Muslims fight for their privileges and for their rights to be treated as equal citizens, they are defending the American Constitution. And I invite our governor today, I invite the law enforcement in Delaware today and all the other citizens in Delaware to join Muslims in protecting the American Constitution. When you defend Muslims in America, you defend American Constitution, you defend American democracy.
Many of those who opposed this movement towards building this Islamic center, 2 blocks from where the World Trade Center once stood, kind of articulated their claims in a way that said, we are okay with Muslims here, but we are not okay with Muslims in this exact location. So we are okay with Islam. We are not okay with Islam within this particular context. We want it to be separated from this space. So again, I look to a dark moment in American history in kind of creating a cross-comparative analysis between this logic and another logic that was targeting a population of the United States at one point.
You're not welcome here. On both sides of the street, protest and counter-protest.
We're here to stand up for the American way of life from a faction of people that are trying to destroy it.
No, I'm just here to show that this is my country too and that we love it.
Thankful for the extra Garland police presence. On the street, a few clashes. The friction tonight, not over the First Amendment, but the message in hand.
I want for people to see that we are kind, peaceful people. We're not here to fight. We're not here to argue. We're just here to show that we're Americans too.
If they want to live their life like the Middle East, they can go back to the Middle East.
Big story on Action News tonight is vandalism at the Islamic Society of Delaware. Police want to know who ripped apart a fence at the facility in Newark and then who made a cross out of the broken stakes.
Today's panel discussion, which is being organized by the Delaware Council on Muslim and Global Affairs, is very important. It is bringing the civil society in contact with the government. We want American Muslims in Delaware to know that their state, at least Delaware, cares about them. And the fact that the governor himself has come here to speak to us goes a long way in assuring us that the state of Delaware is going to do its utmost to ensure that tragedies or hate crimes that are taking place all over the country do not happen in Delaware. But also let me tell you that it is a sad thing that we need an organization like the Delaware Council on Muslim and Global Affairs. We started this organization after the tragic war in Gaza and after the tragic events in Charlie Hebdo's massacre in Paris. The goal of the Delaware Council is to create a forum where we can talk about Muslim issues in the United States, Muslim issues in the West, and also the role of the United States in the Muslim world. And I'm delighted to see that Tarbiyah School is hosting us. We are fortunate to have an institution like that, which has become the hub of civilizational dialogue in this state. It has become the hub of Muslim intellectual activity in this state. And now, by bringing the government, the civil society, and media together, it is becoming one of the main platforms of intellectual engagement in Delaware. So I want to congratulate both the Delaware Council and Tarbiyah for hosting this event. And once again, thank you to all of you for coming here.